Live from Channels Television. Reported tonight, Bimbo Oloide.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, United States expresses concern over what it calls worsening security situation in Nigeria, promises to assist the country. Lagos State government holds special awareness session with teachers and school owners on symptoms of Ebola disease. President Jonathan gives assurances that his government will ensure that the economy works for all Nigerians. And Western leaders criticize Russia for its destabilizing influence in Ukraine. On Business News tonight, micro, small and medium enterprises receive a presidential boost.
And on Sports News tonight, House of Representatives sacks the Chris Giwa executive of the Nigeria Football Federation, recommends fresh elections into the body.
The United States has expressed concern about the worsening security situation in Nigeria, despite efforts to resolve the crisis in the northeastern part of the country. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Mrs. Linda Thomas-Greenfield, who was accompanied by the United States Ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. James Entwistle, representatives from the White House, U.S. Department of Defense, the African Command, and the U.S. Agency for International Development to the Regional Security Working Group of the Nigerian-U.S. Binational Commission, said the security situation in the Northeast is steadily worsening, deeply disturbing, and increasingly dangerous with each passing day.
Since we last met in August of 2013, the frequency and the scope of Boko Haram's terrorist attacks have grown more acute and constitute a serious threat to this country's overall security. Boko Haram has shown that it can operate not only in the Northeast, but it has flexed its muscles in Kano and Abuja and elsewhere. And we're very troubled by the events that have taken place in Bama over the last few days and the prospects of an attack on and in Maiduguri, which would impose a tremendous toll on the civilian population. This is a sober reality check for us all, and it's past time for denial and for pride. It's time for action. Despite our collective efforts, the situation on the ground is worsening. The conflict has affected the lives of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people in the Lake Chad region. Cameroon's military is increasingly forced to fight Boko Haram in its territory, and they flee back into Nigeria. The Chibok schoolgirls that set off the attention of the international community and others remain hostages, enduring horrible and tragic suffering. Shekau's bold announcement that Boko Haram is now governing a caliphate only adds to the perception that the security situation is worsening. All of these developments are deeply troubling, they're deeply disturbing, and increasingly dangerous with each passing day.
Mrs. Thomas-Greenfield says security requires engagement by the three tiers of government and the civil society. She promised that the United States will support Nigeria and its security agencies as they perform those responsibilities.
Security is a multidisciplinary endeavor that requires engagement by all aspects of the federal, state, and local government, as well as civil society, in a coordinated effort that I'm pleased that we will be discussing today. I'm pleased that Session 2 of our working group today will focus on accountability and the rule of law. No conversation about security is complete without addressing issues of accountability, whether we're talking about election security or counterinsurgency. The United States stands ready to support Nigeria and its security services as they fulfill those responsibilities with restraint and impartiality.
She also told the gathering that the U.S. is worried about the more than 700,000 internally displaced persons in the Northeast and reports that the number is increasing.
We're eager to hear from you today about your plans for how civilians can be better protected throughout Nigeria. Those plans are critically important as you move forward toward your national elections next February. In the last BNC meeting, we focused on the elections in great detail. We are encouraged by your commitment to meet or exceed international standards. The Permanent Secretary referred to that. And to deliver elections in Nigeria that the people of Nigeria deserve, but elections that the people of Nigeria will be proud of. We know it is possible, and we commend you for the successful, peaceful elections in Ekiti and Osun states. We sent teams out to both of those elections, observer teams, and again, we were very, very pleased with how well those elections were conducted. For those of you here whose role in the more important, it is true that this imperative places a heavy burden and a responsibility on Nigeria's security services. You must undertake a critical task, protect civilians, and protect the process to enable citizens to determine who governs them.
The United Nations Office for Global Education is seeking global action against what it calls the forced recruitment, detention, and attacks on school children by Boko Haram and other armed groups in northeast Nigeria. Rising from a meeting at the UN headquarters in New York today, the group, in a 64-page report entitled We Care, lamented the abuses being meted out on innocent children living in Borno State, northeast Nigeria. Some of these abuses include forced recruitment into armed groups, abduction, and forced labor. The UN body is equally worried about recruitment of young children as spies for the Boko Haram group, and therefore called on the Nigerian government and other world bodies to step up action and ensure that insurgency is brought to its knees in northeast Nigeria. A speedy resolution to the problem of insurgency in the country will require a meeting between the National Assembly and President Goodluck Jonathan. This is coming from the chairman of the Senate Committee on Defense, Senator George Sekibo, following a meeting of the Joint Committee of the National Assembly on Defense with service chiefs led by the Chief of Defense Staff. The lawmakers arrived at that decision, among others, after they expressed concern about the negative reports on the activities of Boko Haram in the states under emergency rule.
Well, we are told that several cities were taken over by the insurgents, but from this meeting we've been informed that it is not as it is speculated. Some of the stories are speculations. Yes, one or two are there that they've flown their flags. That is agreeable. But there is also a very strong hope that maybe in a couple of days or a couple of time, very soon, the story will be different. We've been assured that you just give them some little time, that story will be different. We've been informed that the presidency is doing much. They have been able to acquire new equipment, and many more are also coming on the way. We were informed that the soldiers' morals were very low, but today we found out that things are being done to reassure all those at the war front and to be sure that their morals are raised. This committee will report our findings to the two chambers as we resume plenaries.
The Southwest PDP Caretaker Committee has given its chairman, Chief Ishola Filani, the boot and has replaced him with Mr. Lanre Orimoloye. At a meeting, 12 members of the Caretaker Committee in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, where Mr. Filani was obviously absent, passed a vote of no confidence on him. Among other things, Mr. Filani was accused of running a one-man show and was also indicted for failing to hold a meeting of the Zonal Executive Council for a long time. This development comes after the PDP in the region looks like getting out of the woods of its several crises, which has rocked the leadership and structure for a long time.
Since the elections in Ekiti, the zone statutorily supposed to meet every fortnight. But this is perhaps the first meeting since then. That's not good enough. more importantly when we're in an election year, when elections are so close, primaries are coming up, all sorts of things are going to start happening. And we felt we've been urging the chairman to say, come, let us meet, let us fashion a way forward for the party to make progress within in the zone.
As the 2015 election gradually approaches, more calls are being made for voters not only to exercise their franchise, but also to make a change through their voting power. The Governor of Lagos, Babatunde Fashola, and the University of Lagos Professor of International Law, Akin Oyebode, both made bold statements on the need for Nigerian voters to change any leader whom they feel is not living up to their responsibilities. Today, at the annual lecture in honor of Nigeria's Pentecostal pastor, Bishop Mike Okonkwo, Professor Oyebode asks voters to realize their rightful place as masters and not servants in a democracy and be ready to change non-performing leaders.
The people are the masters in democracy. They are the bosses. The people in government are their servants. It's only a few governors that have seen their role as servants. I'm not just saying mouthing it because we have the servant governor who claim to be servant. How truly are they serving the people? The people should insist on good service, okay, on provision of necessities for life. Failing which, they will be sent their packing at the next dispensation. That is what I understand by the power of the vote. But for me, the day we start voting out governments in power, that's the day democracy will start working in Nigeria. And Ghanaians are not superior than Nigerians. If Ghanaians can do it, I believe we can do it. The opposition should be given a chance to show what they are capable of. Now, if the opposition party can't deliver, we vote them out 4 years from now too, that they are failure and look for an alternative. Democracy is about seeking alternatives, not more of the same. That is something that should be drawn into the heads of our Nigerians. We should not just follow, as they say. Make sure that the people in government are deserving of our votes.
We must have the courage to change what does not work for us. It is no longer democratic when a bad government has served out its full term and then we say we are changing it. If I employ a driver to drive my car and he drives it badly, what should happen to that driver? I shouldn't be struggling the steering wheel with him. As our lecturer has said, we are servants, you shouldn't be struggling the job with us. If you think we have not done the job well, sack us.
In part 2, after the break, United States pleads with Nigeria to help manage Ebola in Sierra Leone and Liberia. Do stay with us.